Hello everyone. I'm just waiting. People are joining, but it is 2 o'clock, so I thought let's just make a start. So, hello everyone. Welcome to another Startups Magazine webinar. It's actually our first one in a while, so welcome back. Hope you haven't missed us too much. And we have a very exciting session for you today, which is super topical, because obviously since COVID kind of broke out, at Startups Magazine, we've been trying to bring you a series of webinars that have kind of been helping along the way, to help you adapt and to give you some helpful advice about what you can do to keep going through these hard times. And without jumping the gun too much, I think people are starting to see that light at the end of the tunnel. So we thought today, why not bring you a session that kind of prepares for that, and looking at life after COVID, and basically just trying to lay out a lockdown exit strategy for you. So whilst we've had some amazing work and we've seen some amazing startups do some incredible things, we now need to think about what is next, what are we going to do, and things will hopefully start to get back on track. I think it's definitely safe to say it's going to be a new normal. Even though things will start to get back to normal, it's going to take a long time. So we wanted to kind of lay out some things that will help you along the way, and again adapt. It seems like all we're doing right now is adapting to COVID, and then adapting to life after COVID. So hopefully we're just here today to answer your questions and make things a little bit more clear for you. And we have some amazing speakers today, so I'm really excited. We first of all have Mark Wright, who is the previous winner of The Apprentice and UK Entrepreneur of the Year 2018, who went on to become CEO of the UK's fastest growing digital marketing agency, Climb Online, who today Mark will be digging into what businesses can do to prepare for a smooth exit after lockdown. And then we'll have some time for questions for Mark. I'm sure there's plenty, which will then lead us nicely onto the lovely Lauren Stewart, who was recently named a finalist in DigiLeaders 100 Young Digital Leaders of the Year, and also a top 100 women in tech by We Are Tech Women. And Lauren is also founder of Invigorate, an online platform that allows growth and scaling businesses to access some of the UK's top advisors to help accelerate their business growth. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Mark, our first speaker, on to your screens. And as I say, we will have time for questions at the end, and there is a Q&A function down at the bottom. So if you've got any questions at any time, pop them in there, and then we can ask Mark once he's finished speaking. So Mark, the screen is yours. I will turn off now.
And thank you very much to Startup Magazines for inviting me along today. It's a really hot day. It's reminding me of being back in Australia today as I look out the window. So I'm in a very good mood, and thank you so much for giving up your time. I know just by watching the people come on and having a bit of a taste of who's registered for today, it's pretty clear that the majority of people listening to this webinar today are small business owners, they're startup business owners, and the hint is a lot of it in the title. To give you a bit of a background about me, my name is Mark Wright, and for those of you ladies that have come on looking for the Mark Wright from The Only Way is Essex, I'm afraid to tell you that is not me. I often get mistaken for the Mark Wright, and people come to my talks looking to see a different Mark Wright. I'm still not over how that feels, but I'm the business Mark Wright. I'm Lord Sugar's business partner and the winner of The Apprentice. And my journey started in Australia when I was a very young man. I'm dyslexic, I can't read and write. I finished school with no grades, and all I wanted to do when I was a young boy was be rich and be a businessman. But it's a bit hard when you're dyslexic and fail school and have no grades. So that all started my journey into trying to find what was right for me, when eventually I became a personal trainer because it was the only job I could get with no qualifications where I could run my own business at the time. And then I discovered digital marketing. That led me over here into the UK as a backpacker in 2012, where I was living in a hostel. I was flat broke as a pancake. And I was working as a door-to-door salesman selling digital marketing, selling Google ads when it first came out. And it was tough. I was working for one of the biggest businesses in the UK. It clicked over into the 07, 08 recession, selling Google AdWords, doing all of that, not going very well, working for the biggest company in the country. And I really disagreed with the way they treated their staff. I really disagreed with the way they treated their customers. So we have a saying in Australia, don't get bitter, get better. So I put together a business plan for what I believe would be the best digital marketing agency in the UK. I took it to 4 banks, but because I'm not from the UK, they wouldn't give me a bank loan. And a friend of mine from New Zealand said, hey, bro, why don't you try out for The Apprentice? And I said, what's The Apprentice? He said, it's a TV show where an old man yells at you. And I was like, okay, I've never heard of it. So I went to the tryouts for The Apprentice in 2014 with my friend Blake, with 75,000 other people. One thing led to the next, 75,000 to 20,000 to 10,000 to 1,000 to 100 to the 20 that went on to Series 10 of the show. I won Series 10 of The Apprentice. Lord Sugar became my business partner. And I founded Climb Online, which is, as we heard at the start of today's introduction, the most successful business to be founded by Apprentice winner, the first business to turn over £1 million in year 1 of trading, and we're the fastest growing business on Facebook and Google's platform this year. So that leads me into where we are today. I wanted you to know that I'm qualified to speak to you, but I also wanted to tell you this. At the start of this pandemic, my business lost 43% of our customers in one day. 43% of our customers in one day. It was pretty challenging. As an entrepreneur and as entrepreneurs listening to this, you will have know how much sweat and blood and tears goes into building up your dream, your business, how much risk there is, how many people don't believe in you. It's pretty tough. 8 out of 10 businesses fail. Most of that, 90% of that, is in year 1 or year 2, and that's because it's so damn tough. You're fighting big competition, you're fighting people with lots of money. It's pretty tough to succeed, and when you do succeed, you get through that 2, 3, 4, 5 year hurdle barrier, and then you get hit with a health pandemic and a recession at the same time like no one's ever seen. It's pretty tough to lose 50% of your business to something that's out of your control, and that's the first thing I had to deal with as a business owner. And I'm sure everyone on this call can relate, or a lot of you can relate. So I called Lord Sugar, who is still my business partner, who still owns 50% of my business. And I said, what do you think? This is bad. And he said, in 60 years of being in business, this is the worst experience he's ever seen and ever been through. And it's going to be tough out there for businesses, particularly new businesses. And there was a bit of mourning, I'd say. There was a bit of going through the stress, going through the remodeling of the business, going through the restructuring and the re-business plans of all of our companies. And we had to do that quickly. And I'm going to take you through now what I did. And in the last 3 weeks of my business, Climb Online, we've had 3 weeks of record sales. We've recorded 3 back-to-back records and are on track for one of our best months in the company's history, after 3 of the worst months in the company's history. And that's because of the plan that I put in place, because of the work that went in, the decisions that were made quickly. And rather than keep that to myself, I'm going to take you through what I did today on this webinar, and I hope that it's useful. I ask that if you'd like to see the presentation that I'm going to take you through, you're welcome to have a copy at the end. Just email afterwards. Just please don't share it online, because I don't want my competitors seeing this. And if you've got questions as I go along, please just pop them into the Q&A box or the comments box, because this works better as an interactive session if I can help you directly with questions and answers that affect you personally and affect your business, because you're one connection, you're one answer, you're one person away from a completely different life. There's someone on this call that's listening, there's potentially me or my fellow speaker after, that their business, their connection can completely change your life. And that's why I do these, to help other people, and so maybe that people can help me. So let's go through my presentation, and then we'll have some time for questions. And I know right at the end of both mine and Lauren's presentations, there's going to be an opportunity for everyone to ask both of us questions. And so just pop them in at any time. I'm going to take you through a business survival guide. So what you need to do to survive anything, whether it's a health pandemic, a financial crisis, a downturn in your industry, competition, whatever it might be, this guide should help you at scaling down and scaling up your business to suit the environment that's happening around you. So, all right, let's go through. I'm going to go through this quite quickly because my seminars usually go for a day. I've been given 25 minutes to talk, which, as you can see, I've been speaking about my favorite subject, me, for the last 10 minutes. So we've got about 10 minutes for me to tell you how to save your business. Right, okay, I'm going to take you through the honest truth. We're going to create an action plan. We're going to create some 90-day goals. I'm going to show you how to evaluate your business. We'll look at the power of change and make sure you're putting your questions in as we go along. So here's the honest truth. The UK economy is on its knees. It is struggling right now. Now, what's happening is everyone's being paid their furlough money. Everyone has their bounce back loans. So right now, people feel quite chipper about things other than the health side. They're scared to touch a doorknob, but they think their business is okay. The truth is the rug's about to get pulled out from under us, and the bounce back loans and the furlough is going to be a fart in the wind compared to what we need to survive. There's going to be a huge recession like we've never seen after this. And if you convince yourself otherwise, you're just kidding yourself. So you're better off to just understand what's about to happen. The quicker you know what's going to happen and you prepare for it, the better you'll be in the long run. It's going to take months, if not years, to regain normality in your business. And there is going to be a recession, like I said. How you respond now is down to you and only you. It's not up to the government. It's not up to your business partner. It's not up to your husband, wife, friends, family. It's down to you. Taking responsibility as an entrepreneur is the best thing you can do, regardless of what's happening in the economy, but the best thing you can do, full stop. So take full responsibility. There is no time like the present to create the business or life of your dreams. In the next 3 months, what you do will determine your financial success in the rest of your life. Let me say that again. In the next 3 months, your actions will determine your business and financial success for the rest of your life. I'm going to show you at the end of my presentation the businesses that were founded in the last recession, and you'll know all of the names that are there. This is your chance to create the next Uber, the next Groupon, wherever it might be. That can come out of this period for you. What you don't want to do is inaction. You have 2 choices right now. Retreat, halt, pause, wait for this thing to pass, sit back, say, listen, this is out of my control. Let's wait till things return to normal and then I'll get back to it. Or you can create a plan, adapt your products and services and fight with your business right now and emerge stronger, taking out all the competition. Here's what you need to do. Create an action plan, and that starts with goals. 3% of adults that own businesses write down goals and review those goals regularly. Those 3% are responsible for 80% of the wealth in the country. 3% of people write down goals. They're responsible for 80% of the wealth. If you're not writing down your goals, both for yourself personally and for your business, you're never going to be in the top 3%, let alone the top 1%. So writing down goals has changed my life more than anything else I've done in my whole life, in my whole business. The first year I wrote down my goals, I tripled my income, and I've doubled it every year since. So start by writing down your goals, putting those where you can see them, reviewing them regularly, and it will change your life and your business. Then you need to create a list of what is vital in your business to helping you achieving those goals. So what do you need to achieve your goals? Then create a secondary list. What isn't vital in my business to helping me achieve those goals? I'm going to tell you what I did as this pandemic started. I took out our P&L, profit and loss accounts, and I crossed out everything on there I don't need, even down to the fruit basket that's in the reception. We didn't need it to achieve our goals in the next 90 days, so it went. You also do it with people. who do I need in my team to hit my numbers and my goals, and who do I not need in my team to hit my goals and my business dreams. Those lists are super important and should be updated regularly. But again, these are things that are so simple that people just don't know. But if I'm doing them, if Lord Sugar's doing them, if every billionaire I know is doing them, every business owner that wants to be successful should be doing this. And your mindset as a business owner is the most powerful tool you have. Most people have a, why did this happen to me? Oh, I'm so upset about this. Someone else needs to give me help. We've spoken about taking responsibility, and it comes back to having a positive mindset. Stop looking at the problems and start looking at the opportunities that's coming from this. In the last week, I've bought more businesses and more properties than I have in my 30-year career, just because of the amount of people that are scared and making silly decisions. I'm remaining calm, thinking about things, meditating on options, and then going out and taking advantage of other people, misinformation, panic buying, panic selling, making mistakes. And this is where us great business people, all the entrepreneurs that have given up their time on a Thursday afternoon to come and learn, take time out of this. This is where we can dominate the market. And it starts in here first with your mindset. So don't look for problems, always look for the opportunity. I was on a great call last night with Brian Tracy, who's one of the best success coaches in the world. He was saying, whenever you see a problem, you should ask yourself and your staff, this is not a problem. It's our job now to find the opportunity within this said problem. And that's what we all need to do. So ask yourself these questions. With staff members, who performs in my team and who doesn't? In a good time, you've got time to work and train and add value to people who aren't performing and create performing employees. In recessions, in health pandemics, you don't have the time to work with underperforming employees. They need to go. And now it sounds ruthless, but right here, I'm not here to tell you how to be a good person. I'm here to tell you how to be a good business person. And many companies have failed, particularly small companies, for holding on to nice people who aren't good at their job. Anyone who's not performing right now shouldn't be in your business. What costs can you cut that aren't essential? I spoke to you about the fruit basket in our reception and everything like that. Anything little, all those subscriptions for software we didn't even know we had anymore, the things we don't use, something that an employee got that's now not left. These are the things that need to go, because in a good time, that's fine. They get away in the P&L, but right now they need to be gone. And what can we sacrifice? What do we kind of like in our business? For example, what's the thing that's nice to have that we just isn't essential right now to achieving our turnover goals, our profit goals? What does our business need to maintain its revenue? You need to strip your business back right now. Look at the departments, the areas and the products that are creating your margin, creating your revenue, creating your profits. And look at those products that aren't working. Maybe it's your back of the shelf milk offer that brings people into your business, but it's always been a loss leader. It's never made you money. It's never really done what your expectation was for it. Now's a good time to scrap products, to scrap ideas, to scrap departments that haven't really worked, that have been a bit of an R&D trial for the business. So that's really important. And what does your business need to generate new revenue? What do you need to do to create new products? Create a list for that as well. Now, this is my biggest bugbear and why I come on and do these talks, because it really upsets me, and to the point of just wanting to pull my hair out, of when things get tough, a business loses 40% of its sales like I did. They lose their customers. They get told to shut. They get told whatever it might be. The first thing a stupid business owner does is reduce their marketing budget or cut their sales team. These people should not be in business. These are the people that are what I call bedroom DJs or pretenders. They tell people they're a business owner. That's just what they like to tell people at cocktail parties. They're not a business person. Real business people, when they lose sales, they increase their marketing and sales. They double down on their efforts. They go more aggressively into the market. If you watch the big players right now, the serious businesses, they're marketing more than ever. If you look at someone like TikTok, and guess who does the marketing for TikTok? you're looking at him. If you look at what TikTok has done in this pandemic, they have gained more new users, more new customers, marketed more, gained a whole dead market right now because they had a captive audience. They took advantage of their competitors' inability to react to this situation. And we must do the same as business owners as well. Creating goals, both for yourself personally and for your business. Here is my 90-day goals. First of all, you run a business two ways. When times are good, you run your business off a P&L, profit and loss accounts, and you're always looking each month and each quarter and each year to make as much profit as possible. Business is about making money. Business is about making profit. Never forget that. And when times are good, your job is to make as much profit as possible. Yes, and doing all that other stuff as well. But when times get tough, health pandemic, recession, cash becomes king. Running your business from your balance sheet, checking your cash flow every day, every morning, you should be doing a cash update of your business, knowing how much access to capital you have, how much access to cash you have at the bank, because cash becomes king. Reach out to all your suppliers that maybe you're on direct debit for, or 7 days or 1 day payment terms, and extend all your payment terms, 30, 60, 100 days, whatever you can get out of your suppliers. You want to be on the longest payment terms possible, and you want to be paying by transfer, not by direct debit. You want to be controlling all the cash at the bank for your company and controlling when you pay people to make sure that you've got capital to pay your suppliers, pay your staff, run your business successfully to grow out of this. My third goal was to increase sales by X percentage, targeting new sectors that are not impacted by COVID-19. Yes, tons of businesses have been heavily affected by this. My biggest customer was a cruise ship booking company. They were wiped out on the first day when I lost most of my customers. So I created a list of all businesses and sectors that wouldn't be impacted by this and would be booming right now. For example, online casinos, gaming companies, office furniture, home office furniture, online retail, online food delivery. And I rang up those companies to do their marketing, and have since protected my business by working with, supplying, and also partnering with people who are booming right now. Having a diversity within your customer set and within your supplier portfolio keeps your business safe. Never have all your eggs in one basket, because if you're a marketing provider that just provides marketing to cruise ship companies, you don't have a job right now, I'm afraid to say. So having that diversity in your portfolio of customers, both in where your customers are located, what sectors they are in, is very, very important if you're a service-based business. Maintain high standards of customer service. For me, the most important thing for any business, whether it's a product business, a service business, I don't care what you do. The most important thing in any business is the customer. If you think about the greatest business for me, I think of all time, is probably Apple computers. All they talk about is the customer. They're always looking at the customer experience, what's happening with the customer, what's the customer doing right now. Our customers are going through a really tough time. Our customers are going through the same problems that we're going. So how can we adapt our solution, our product, our service to benefit our customers more at this time? If you answer that question, you answer your problems as a business right now. Strategic marketing, sales, and strategy. So I got my sales and marketing team in when this pandemic broke out, and I said to them, our goal over the next 90 days is to spend more on marketing than any other marketing agency in the UK. That's our goal. We need to spend the most, because everyone else, let me tell you what's going to happen. Every other business owner is going to make the fundamental mistake of cutting the marketing and sales arm, furloughing their sales staff. And what we're going to do is increase our sales, increase our marketing, and take all their customers while they're busy at home watching Netflix and eating Ben and Jerry's. And it worked. It didn't work straight away. It worked in the third month. I've got to get off in 5 minutes for some questions. Make sure you're putting your questions in now while I go through this last slide. While I tell you what all business owners, what we can all do. We spoke about squeezing our suppliers. Move things to where possible to on this soil. We've just got Brexit going on. We've also got this thing in China going on, huge delays coming out of China for products. Wherever you can move something to British made right now would be a really important situation. Refining your operations, particularly your customer service, maximize free marketing tools, revise your sales strategy, and be agile. Move with the punches right now. Squeezing suppliers and watching your costs is so important, guys, when things get tough. It is your overhead, your rent, your rates, your staff, your supplier costs, your supplier time on repayments that kill businesses in tough times. Give you an example. American Airlines put 7 nuts in the, when you get on a first class or business class flight for American Airlines, they give you 7 nuts in a tray with your champagne when you get on. They reduced the nuts from 7 to 6 on all flights, 1 nut. And they save £93,000 a month. What is the 1 nut in your business right now that's costing you when it doesn't need to be costing you? Right now, I see more opportunity than ever before for businesses to be successful, because when the seas get rough, you see who the skilled sailors are. And it's not a time to be scared. It's not a time to be worried. It's not a time to complain. It's a time to own yourself, own your business, show leadership, show calm, and start negotiating your way into a better life, both financially for yourself, but also in the success and brand of your company. I think this is the greatest opportunity for business owners we'll see in our lifetime. I don't think we'll ever see an opportunity like this. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. It's awful what's happening with the health side of this and the pandemic that is the health problem that's hurting people and people have died. I'm not speaking about that. My job is to talk to you about business. And for business, whilst this might feel like the toughest time ever, and it has to me for a while, I can now see all the opportunities that can come from this off the back of it. You can reinvent yourself, you can reinvent your customers, you can reinvent your staff and become a better business that's more in line with where you want to go in the future. So I'm going to I've got more and more slides. These are the businesses that were founded at the end of the, in the middle of the last pandemic. You know, we have WhatsApp, we have Instagram, Uber, and Groupon. We know all of those names, I'm sure, and there'll be businesses right now that are forming that are the new names that are going to be on this presentation in the next problem 10 years up the line. Every business owner, every self-made entrepreneur faces a crisis on average every 3 months. This is just our crisis for this year. Let's learn to embrace it, deal with it, and be more successful than ever. And I'd just like to remind you never ever to give up, to stay at it, to stay in the buffet line of life, to stay in the business line, keep chipping away, keep coming onto calls and working with people like the Startups Magazine. And thank you so much for having me here today. I hope that there's been 1 or 2 nuggets in there that you can apply to yourself and to your business. And I'd love 5 minutes now to answer any questions you have about your business or what you've heard today.
Thank you, Mark. That was so good. I was sat here thinking, I might start my own business. We do have a few questions. A couple have come through on the Q&A and
yep.
a couple on the chat. Shall I just read them out to you?
I can see anonymous attendee. How do I find balance of motivating myself and my team? Is that the first? Yeah, so I can do that.
The first one, yeah.
Okay, cool. So guys, if you've got questions, just put them into the Q&A box right now and I'll answer them. The first one is, how do I find balance of motivating myself and motivating my team? First thing to say on that is it's more important to motivate your team than yourself. The team has always got to come first. Your customers and your team always become before you. It's just like being a parent of children. Your children always become before you. Look after your team. Make sure that they're motivated. And the first thing I did when this happened is I increased the amount I was speaking to my team. So for all my businesses, I own 6 businesses. I hold one meeting where all of the staff, I present to all the staff about what our goals are for the company that week. When this started, I increased the number of times I would speak to the staff from once a week to twice a week. So I held 2 town halls on a Monday and a Friday, just so they knew what was going on. They felt in the know. They were hearing things directly from me, not on the grapevine or not from their colleagues. And so increasing that communication, I also brought in a yoga teacher to do Zoom yoga, a meditation person to do meditation. And I looked after that. But you've also got to watch your own motivation as well. And the first thing to say on your own motivation as an entrepreneur is you can't be motivated, happy and fulfilled and driving forward all the time. I'm not motivated all the time. A lot of people mistake and think I'm this, because I give motivational talks, I do these seminars, that I'm motivated myself all the time. It is impossible. We're human beings. We have energy. We need sleep. We need food. We need love. We cannot go through uphill all the time. We need to allow ourselves to have days where we're not feeling our best, with days when we're feeling our best, and be okay with that. So the first thing is to give yourself the space to be okay, to not be motivated, and just give yourself the tools around you by having goals that will center you. The biggest reason people fall out of motivation is because they don't have goals, they don't have a vision, and they don't have a routine. By fixing that, you fix your motivation. So the problem is not that you're demotivated. The problem is you forgot why you were motivated in the first place. Create some goals, create a vision, write those goals down, create yourself a schedule, and watch how you feel afterwards. But listen, always put your customers and your staff first. And when they're happy, if you're a good leader, you'll feel happy as a subsequent.
Amazing, definitely.
The next one was Dan. Dan, what do you think will be the biggest change? What do you think the biggest change that businesses are going to face will be? Oh, listen, for me, it's the office. I think any business with an office is going to see huge changes. I mean, the biggest overhead for, generally speaking, most businesses is the office and their salary bill. I, for one, have a huge 3,500 square foot in St. Paul's, London, that's sitting completely empty right now, that I'm paying £22,000 a month rent on. That's a huge problem. That's going to be a huge change, because now all my staff and the company have realized we can work productively and well, cohesively from home. There are some challenges from working from home. There are some motivational issues from working from home. There are some health issues. We're working around those. But I think we're going to see the biggest change from this is the way companies work in the future. I think maybe the days of the big office blocks are dead. We're going to see hybrid working, maybe a rota basis of people coming in. People are using smaller offices, people doing offsites with their teams, maybe in hotels, maybe in conference centers every month, maybe a day a month, and then working from home the rest of the time. We might see a whole different way companies interact with their staff and their customers. And I think it's going to be through things like Zoom, and a lot less through coming into the office. And I also think that people will start protecting their supply chains more by making sure that they can always have access to products with, no matter what's going on in the environment. So I think that will be big. What is the main key tool you will take away from the last 3 months? I think it's been the toughest 3 months of my career by a mile. But it's been the most educational by a mile. I will never be scared that I'm not going to make it in business again, because this was the most significant, toughest situation that I've ever faced as an entrepreneur. It was the worst situation any of my businesses have ever faced, and all of my businesses made it through this so far. And I've learned that I'm adaptable as an entrepreneur, and that my business is adaptable. And even if you fail, you don't fail. There's no such thing as failing. There's only such thing as learning and moving forward. If your business goes under in this, you haven't failed. You've learned how to do it better next time. You've just bought an expensive course in business management or business success. The UK has a lot to answer for by putting so much pressure on entrepreneurs to be successful all the time. It's okay to fail and fail forward and learn. And I've taken a lot of pressure off myself. I just look at things as lessons. And the biggest thing for me that's my key takeaway in all of this is that my business and I can adapt to no matter what's thrown at us. And we might look different to how we thought at the start of the year. But as long as we're all still here, we've got jobs, we're doing great work for our customers, I'll be really happy. Have we got time for a couple more?
Yeah.
No
Problem.
worries. Which paid marketing channels are you avoiding and maximizing? Is Facebook adverts doing well for me? Right now, PPC and Facebook ads are booming for me, particularly Instagram ads, Facebook ads, and PPC. Why are they booming? Like I said in my presentation, a lot of people withdrew their marketing budget at the start of this. So what determines the cost of advertising on the internet is competition. The less competition there were, the lower the costs were to advertise, and the more people, called impressions, were seeing the ads. So for my customers and for my own marketing spend, we were getting much more bang for our buck. For my AdWords budget, my Facebook budget, we were seeing incredible results. What I will say with Facebook and Instagram is make sure you're communicating through video. 75% of all the internet web traffic is now being consumed by video. If you're dyslexic like me and you come to a website and you see a big page of text or a video, everyone's watching that video. So make sure you've got great explainer videos on your website that tell your customers what you do, how you do it, and how you can help them. But I think Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Instagram ads, Google AdWords, if you ever wanted to start paid advertising, now's the time to do it while there's less cars on the road, so to speak.
Yeah, there's two more. Should we do that?
Yeah, of course. Right. Would you change anything what you've done over the last 3 months? Would I change anything I've done in the last 3 months? No, I don't think I would. And it's amazing to say that now. I can't believe I'm saying that at the end of the 3 months. There's this famous story about a Chinese farmer, and he had a horse, and one day the horse ran away, and his neighbors came round and said, "That's too bad." And he said, "Maybe." And then the next day, the horse came back and brought with it 7 wild horses, and the neighbors came around and said, "Wow, that's amazing." And he said, "Maybe." And the next day, his son was training the 7 wild horses and fell and broke his leg. And the neighbors came around and said, "Oh, that's too bad." And he said, "Maybe." And the next day, the army conscription officers came around and couldn't take his son off to war because he had a broken leg. And the neighbors came around and said, "Wow, that's amazing." And he said, "Maybe." And the point of the story is, and would I change anything that I've done over the last 3 months? And the answer is no. Is everything that's happening to you, everything that's happening to your business, you don't know how that's going to benefit you down the line. There's nothing that's happened to you that's good or bad. It's only happening. And our job is to make the best of the circumstances, deal with it, because guess what? We're all going through, everyone in the world is going through the same thing right now. And we can either make an excuse, we can feel sorry for ourselves, or we can make the best out of it and be successful in the long run. I wouldn't change a thing. Last question.
Yeah.
What do you think about the smart solution providers, organizations in most of the developing countries, in private businesses facing much difficulties? Also give some guidance in the current crisis. I think I've kind of answered that throughout my presentation. I think that as a business, you've got to adapt with technology, you've got to adapt with time, and also you need to be, stupid business owners don't listen to feedback. I was saying to the ladies on the call before, in the briefing call before this, that I wasn't a fan of working from home. I always forced my staff to come into the office before COVID. And I've realized throughout this experience that technology is fantastic and we can almost run our business as normal. And that also it's what the staff want. It's what makes the staff productive. It's what makes them stay with the company. So I would be stupid to go against that and force them to come in and potentially lose good people, potentially lose good customers. So our job as business owners is to always adapt to the environment that we're facing. Listen to our staff, listen to our customers, listen to the world, and start adapting to how we can be the best version of our business by what's going on around us. And then nothing can hurt you, and use the technology and resources that we have available. But that's it. And I'll be back on at the end if you think of any more questions throughout Lauren's presentation that you'd like to ask me at the end of her talk as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mark. That was really great. And yes, I was good. If there's any more questions, Mark will be here at the end. So thank you again.
No worries. Thank you.
And now we would like to welcome the lovely Lauren to our screens. Lauren?
Thanks, Anna, and thanks, Mark, for a great session. I'm sure that lots of people took lots of really great takeaways from that. I am Lauren Stewart. I'm the founder of Invigorate. We provide impactful connections and expertise to help scaling businesses succeed. So it would be really good to get a sense of who's on the call, what businesses are you from, what is your kind of role in that, and what perhaps some of the biggest challenges you've faced during this time. You can just pop it in the chat and we can perhaps discuss and angle some of those challenges as I go through. I am a strategy consultant by background. So before I started Invigorate, I helped over 50 corporate companies and FTSE 100 companies really think about what strategies look like, how can they plan their next 5 years. And I think a recurring theme through that was that it's actually getting harder and harder to make 5-year plans, and actually that's sort of really reducing to, in their case, 18 months. But I think what we can absolutely learn through this global pandemic, which we've now kind of certainly been in lockdown for 90 days, I think Saturday marked the 3-month mark, was that, timelines are getting much, much shorter and businesses are just having to be far more adaptable. So hopefully you can take some of the learnings that Mark put forward, and really if you perhaps have been incredibly stilted by what's happened during this time, hopefully you can kind of put some key building blocks in place. I can't run away from my strategy consultant background, so I've tried to look at what's happened in the broader sense and from a strategic high level during the pandemic. What are some of the lessons we can really learn, and then how businesses are adapting. The platform that I run really brings together advisors and founders of scaling businesses, and what it gives me kind of a really unique opportunity to feed back to you what some perhaps slightly more established businesses are doing, and how they're thinking about the pandemic as a whole. So I think it would be amiss to really not look at the pandemic on how it's really shifted social divide, and has really highlighted that across a variety of different angles. So I think the reason why I want to really start my presentation with this is that keep thinking about how your business is going to adapt to what's changed. I think it would be amiss if you try target the same type of customers that you did prior to the pandemic, and it would be amiss in the way in which you operate doesn't change. So I'm going to kind of go through the high level themes and then break it down from a tactical perspective across each element of your business and what that could mean. So, as I mentioned, the pandemic has absolutely highlighted social divides, and I'm sure you can relate that, for example, when the Ebola virus broke out, it really affected a very insular type of, or a certain portion of the population in Africa, for example, and most of the world, to be frank, didn't really care about it. What's so unique about the global pandemic is everyone was affected, and all of a sudden things like social care, education, the healthcare infrastructure like the NHS have really been brought into question. So if you are about to start a business, or you're thinking of servicing any of the kind of new and interesting industries, it's really important for you to imagine, and as you know, entrepreneurs solve problems. What are some of the things that are perhaps broken or not working within each of those areas? So there's lots of room for innovation in EdTech. If you are helping teachers go online, or at least be more efficient in what they're doing, or if you're providing educational services online, that's a really, really big opportunity. Likewise with social care or childcare, there are some really, really interesting platforms that are establishing and starting to really, really help rethink how we can really get the bones of society and at least the kind of care in place. Going back to the healthcare piece, I think the NHS has been trying to digitalize for the last couple of years, and they did so in 3 weeks with the pandemic. So it really does show, to Mark's point, how adaptive and innovative people can really be if put under crunch. I think what it's also really highlighted is the fact that a global pandemic could be an annual occurrence. I don't know if anyone has listened to Bill Gates's Netflix series, but he really talks around the fact that the globe doesn't kind of know what's coming. And I think, this pandemic, the government has been very generous, perhaps some would argue perhaps not generous enough, but has certainly put aid and relief out. But one should never necessarily rely on that. If this becomes an annual thing, you're going to have to rethink your business even on kind of an annual basis. So really, what's important to note is that agility is certainly very key. What we've also noticed within the investment community, and so a lot of the businesses we support are looking for a venture capital investment or have already got venture capital investment, they're really looking at how they can instill the societal view into their business. So, a lot of small businesses start out with trying to kind of solve big societal issues and sometimes get quite despondent, and perhaps then put more of a corporate commercial hat on. But really, I would encourage you to make sure that your value set or your social reasons for starting your business are very much ingrained. A lot more investors are excited about that. They're starting to put more money into those type of businesses. And so, you can certainly use a global shift in thinking to your advantage. And I think the third piece that I think has really, really brought out in the pandemic is a focus on diversity. I think it would be, and it's a cause close to my heart as well, but it would be a miss to not be aware of the various social divides and social economic concerns that the pandemic has brought up. And what's really interesting is, and I encourage you as you start building your businesses to really think about how you can bring diversity into your business. A recent McKinsey study proved that if you have females in your management team, you can outperform by 25%. And if you have ethnic diversity in your management team, you can outperform by 36%. And those are really, really big numbers. And what that really means is you can tap into markets that perhaps you didn't really realize existed if you and your whole business look and feel like a similar type of individual. Some examples, if you've noticed that femtech has really become really popular. So if you follow kind of some of the high growth businesses, someone like LV that makes breast pumps, if it was started by a male and only had male investors, I'm not sure they would be where they are. So it's a really exciting time to really think and look around the problems that may exist within the world, and how you can individually solve them. Likewise, I was at a pitch event 2 or 3 weeks ago. Well, it was online, but attended a pitch event where there was a really, really interesting founder who started a business around and based on a problem she was trying to solve within her religion. So annually there are masses of individuals that and millions of people that head to Mecca. Being Muslims, it's a really, really big part of their culture, but there's no online platform to find those type of products. And what I think, which was just so interesting, is she's providing an educational service. So what are the types of things you need to make this pilgrimage? What are the types of goods and services and things like that? And I think, if you're a business and you're looking to hire people, it could really open up different markets and different individuals and different customers that you just hadn't particularly thought about, and particularly within the consumer space. So those really, and I think Mark touched on the working from home. I think everyone has found it to be incredibly effective. And I think lots of businesses are needing to rethink the way in which they staff and situate their employees. So of course, no one can deny tools like Zoom, various productivity tools, etc., are certainly booming. And so again, if you're trying to service any of those type of markets, one would think about collaborative tools and really how you can communicate better. So those are really the sort of high level themes that you should certainly be thinking about. I'll then dive into some of the more tactical points across each of the elements of your business. I think Mark touched on some of them, but I certainly will echo. First and foremost, finances. A recent investor presentation I went to said that you should prepare for almost 18 months of cash runway. Now that is an incredible thing for small businesses, since most small businesses only have a month of cash in the bank at any given time. So, by no means am I suggesting you need 18 months worth of cash, but I would absolutely recommend that you operate as leanly as possible. Again, echoing, as Mark said, there's a false sense of stimulation in the economy because, the furlough schemes and the various government support have certainly pumped some money into businesses. But as we kind of move out of that, it's going to be really difficult times. And so again, I would really encourage you to operate as leanly as you can. Secondly, and it depends sort of where your businesses are operating. But if you're operating outside of the UK or looking for suppliers outside of the UK, it's really important to note that not all countries will be in a similar position as the UK. As you know, the US is really starting to face most of the pandemic challenges. So if most of your customers, and you're relying on most of your customers being in another country, their business may not take off for the months to come. So really plan around not just assuming that your customers are in a similar boat to you, but really understanding kind of what they're about within their local markets if you are operating more broadly. And that then leads me on to customers. And again, I think Mark echoed it, but really making sure that if you've made certain assumptions during this time, and no doubt it's been quite tactical, incredibly tough. I can echo that the last 3 months have been incredibly tough to rethink and reshape. But the anniversary of 3 months in was really a great opportunity to perhaps reflect a little bit what has worked, what hasn't, and then moving forward, some of the things that perhaps we as a business have assumed to be true, or if you've released a new product or a new offering and you think this could work, please go back and talk to your customers. Really make sure that you have, your assumptions are correct, and that what you're offering is really what you want. What's a really nice way about doing that is you can say to them that, you're looking to pivot, you're looking to launch a new product, and you really want to service their needs. And if you start building those kind of very collaborative relationships now, as Mark said, a lot of businesses aren't doing anything, they aren't being proactive. So a lot of customers are very much available and ready to have those conversations. And they certainly are. It will stand you very well in the long run. Again, ways of working, I think we've sort of certainly touched on it, but returning to work, and a lot of people that perhaps have been furloughed will be returning to work. So how do you really manage that as a business? How do you manage and continue to manage the mental health of your workers? It's been a real slog to go back to the same place, and I'm sure you can sympathize as well. Same place for 3 months to kind of keep that motivation and that kind of stimulation and involvement, not only within like your work and the work that you're trying to achieve, but also in the culture of the company. So really think quite carefully about how you continue that moving forward. And then just very tactically from an operational perspective, you've got to be thinking about, okay, if a global pandemic comes every year, is there any particular insurance that you should be taking out or could be taking out that could protect you? Cyber has become a huge issue. A lot of people are sitting at home and doing some hacking. So without wanting to scare you within your business, just look into what tools and solutions you can do. So as you're building your business, you can just build it slightly more robustly than if you weren't thinking about it prior to that, because that's really going to be a concern. Again, check in with your suppliers. What are they up to? Do you need to change them? Do you have certain dependencies in certain markets or certain industries that perhaps need to be reshifted? Do make a note and make sure that you're thinking about that. Lastly, around planning, and certainly Mark spoke about this a lot, but if you have paused your business in essence and really needed to rethink how you do things, start reporting and start documenting and really start kind of putting things in black and white, and that will really stand you in very good stead moving forward. And last but not least, and this is certainly something that rings very, very true to Invigorate and to my heart as well, is really surround yourself by a support network, whether that be fellow founders or advisors. I think a lot of the businesses that we support have really noticed that it is just a really, really lonely journey, and it is really, really difficult to do it alone. And so while you may be meeting people when things are face to face, being, remote, you often feel quite isolated. So I would encourage you to think about your support network moving forward. So very happy to answer any questions. I haven't checked the Q&A if there are any, but would love to hear about your business, where you're at, and whether I can help with any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lauren. That was really great. And yeah, we have got a few questions. They've come through on the Q&A. I'll just read them out to you, and then you can kind of answer them. The first one is, what can we do to prepare in case this global pandemic, this is something you mentioned, does come around again, or even worse, does become an annual thing?
Yeah, so I think obviously it's been an incredible shock to the system, because we obviously haven't had one since the Spanish flu in the early 1900s. So hopefully the next time it comes around, it won't be as much of a shock. But broadly, why we were in lockdown for so long was to protect the NHS and the health infrastructure, and a lot of the reasons why we kind of had to shut down was because of that. So I'm hoping the next time around, perhaps we won't be locked down in the kind of the physical sense. But I think if you aren't thinking about making your business, I would argue 100% digital, you probably would be hit quite significantly the next time around. So I think really taking the lessons learned and really applying them, and not thinking that things will return to how they were before, because even if they do to some level and some extent, like on all the kind of the themes that I spoke about, things are going to change. Business is going to look completely different.
Definitely, I couldn't agree more. Like you said, like things are going to get back to normal, but it's not going to be normal that we know, is it? The new normal we're saying right now.
Yeah.
Definitely, no. The next question was, from all the businesses that you have seen and worked with, which areas do you think have been affected the worst?
Well, this is a really good question. And I think, unfortunately, I'll echo what Mark said. A lot of businesses cut their marketing and sales spend, and they furloughed a lot of them. A lot of their staff. And if they did have a bit of cash in the bank, it really was a wonderful opportunity to engage with customers, not necessarily in a selling capacity, but just saying, look, I'm here for you, I can help you, what can I do? And we've certainly seen a lot of the businesses have really benefited from that approach. Obviously, not every business is in the fortunate position to be able to do so, but it really was probably the wrong thing to do. If you think of your business and how much it takes to acquire a customer, those customer acquisition costs have been really low during this time. So I would probably say, again, echoing what Mark said about sales and marketing.
Definitely. And from more of a personal question, have you had to make any massive changes to your business, and will that affect you in a post-COVID world?
Yes, absolutely. So we have pivoted completely, well, not necessarily completely, but we certainly have accelerated our digital journey. So most of the network operated quite remotely. The advisory business, quite in person. The advisory business is incredibly personable. So if you're looking for an advisor, you often have a cup of coffee with them, and you chat to people that may have worked with them before. And so we've accelerated a digital platform and our building of that platform so that we can kind of replicate that online. So it's an incredibly interesting and exciting time for the business, but also has been incredibly stressful. We've literally built it in sort of 3 months. As lockdown hit, we said, okay, well, we wanted to do it in the long run, let's do it now.
Definitely. And I guess that kind of answers the next question, but I'll ask you anyways in case there's anything to add on. In terms of business, are there any positives to come out of coronavirus?
I think lots of positives, and I'll sort of speak very, very sort of high level. Certainly in my world, there have been a lot of very, very inflated evaluations of businesses, lots of capital being pumped into some businesses that you perhaps don't have as much standing. And I think a bit of competition is really, really helpful. And as Mark alluded to, and I'll add a few more logos to that, so the likes of Slack and Zoom, etc., all came out of, virus time or crisis time. And I think that it makes you incredibly sharp to do the least with less, speak to your customers all the time. There's just no money to waste. And so absolutely, I think the way in which businesses operate and the way in which investors look at businesses will be different as well. They'll be looking to see who's done the most with least, with the least amount. and who's really been able to kind of make as much impact with that, as opposed to perhaps just a good idea.
Definitely. And our final question for you today is, can you please recommend a good place or platform to find investors besides LinkedIn? I run a money saving website called greatdealsmadeeasy.com.
Well, good question. There are actually a couple of really wonderful platforms, which I'm happy to kind of take offline, but those that sort of come to mind are, kind of the angel networks. So it's not necessarily a platform, but you can kind of submit what you're looking for, and they will kind of put you in touch with angels if that's kind of the types of sum of money that you're looking for. Typically at that stage is probably angels.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I think if there's any more questions, you all have seconds to get them in. If we could welcome Mark back to your screens. I actually have one question that I would like to ask to kind of wrap things up, and ask both of you. You've both mentioned today that obviously the office is definitely a changing area from COVID, and a lot of stats have shown that people that have worked from home have done it well, if not better, and a lot prefer remote working. And I agree, it's all about balance, like you said, Mark. But one interesting stat that I saw was a prediction that London could see a 50% reduction rate in office occupancy for up to a year. My question to you both is, do you think that London will see the biggest change after coronavirus?
Lauren, would you like to answer that, or?
I'll briefly touch on it. I think, London very, very fortunately has a lot of capital to bounce back. So I would probably say yes, whilst, as a whole, they probably will suffer from a rent perspective, etc. I think the businesses based in London perhaps are slightly better connected, although having said that, we're now all digital. So that shouldn't stop anyone that's in a different place or perhaps not from London to benefit from those as well. Just be very proactive, and sort of get out there as much as possible online.
Great. Mark, anything?
Yeah, I think, listen, human beings are amazing at adapting to new environments, but also we're incredibly stupid in terms of we go back to old habits pretty easily. I watch my staff come back in and follow the social distancing guidelines for about 5 minutes before they were back hugging and shaking hands and sitting too close to each other, because you've done it for your whole life. You've gone into the office, you've hung around with your friends your whole life. So I think that, yes, there will be a change in the short term, but long term, there will be a cure or solution for this situation. And I think more quickly than you can imagine, we'll be back to a more regular way of working. I don't think it will be ever back to how it was, but it will be definitely back to a more regular blended version of people coming in for face-to-face meetings, people greeting one another, whatever it might be. But the best way to do a deal is to look someone in the eye across from the table and do the big deals that way. So listen, who knows? We've just got to go with it and do what's best for our businesses and adapt until that time.
Definitely. Great. Thank you both very much. I think that kind of summed up it all very nicely. One just last, it's not actually a real question. If people obviously after this want to kind of get in touch with you and interact with you, what's the best way to kind of connect with you, and on your website or through LinkedIn, what's the best way for people to get to you?
So for me, it's just if you type in Mark Wright into any social media platform, I come up second on all of them after the guy from The Only Way is Essex. So if you want to follow me personally and hear the rubbish that I continue to say every single day, I'd love you to, and just look for Mark Wright. But if you're a business and you want more leads and sales, which I've never met any business that doesn't want more leads and sales, then look for Climb Online and we would love to help you.
And Lauren?
Very reachable on LinkedIn, Lauren Stewart Tack, which is a mouthful, but it's my maiden name and my newly acquired marriage name, so pretty easy to find.
Amazing. And also, Mark, you have an event, don't you, that was due to take place last week, which I was so excited about, but obviously we will be looking forward to the 2021 version.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. And listen, what part of me coming on to do these things is I make it a rule that I don't sell anything, because I hate those speakers where you come on to learn from someone, they've come on to give you advice, and then they try and sell you their 6-week mentoring box to become a millionaire, which is a load of garbage. I don't do that. But what I do have, and I would love everyone to come, and if you don't want to come, you don't come, but I have an event called ClimbCon, which I've always been into self-development and being the best version of myself and having the best business that I have. And I always try and listen to audio books, read books, go to seminars. And I was getting very frustrated that I was going to seminars and people were selling to me the whole time their different products. And I felt I was leaving seminars and I hadn't learned anything new. So just like I put Climb Online together, I put an event together called ClimbCon, where I get together multimillionaires and billionaires from around the world to come and speak to business owners. But there's only one term in their contract that they're not allowed to sell to the audience. They're only allowed to teach them how they scaled up their business. And ClimbCon last year had Piers Morgan, Alan Sugar, the CEO of Emirates Holidays, etc., etc. And next year we've already got Louis Theroux confirmed. We have Michelle Moan, myself, a few others, and some really secret big names that will be there as well. So if you'd like to come to that, go to climbcon.com, and we would love to see you there.
Definitely. I'm super excited, so I'll be there too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, everyone, thank you so much. That's all we have time for today. I just want to say again a massive thank you to our amazing guests, Mark and Lauren. You're both fantastic.
My pleasure.
You've really helped us think about the future for business and kind of visualize what things actually might look like. So I feel a bit better about the future. We've also been sharing some great content on our website, so check out startupsmagazine.co.uk for some more. There's a really good one on there from Stephanie Melodia from Bloom, so you should definitely check that one out. And again, thank you all to our attendees for joining. I know everyone would rather be at the beach, but I'm glad that you joined, because it was definitely a worthwhile watch. And we will put this on our YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it back and send it to people that weren't able to make it. So share the message. Thank you again to my team, to the lovely Lauren and Mark, and we will see you all again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.